Salute. Pledge.
I
Under God. Looking for a motion to adopt the agenda.
I move that we adopt the agenda.
I'll second that.
It's the agenda.
Motion carries.
Okay, before we get started with our regular business here, we have a council member that has a birthday today, and I'd like to say happy birthday to her. So, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Council Member Draper. Happy birthday to you.
Thank you very much. It makes getting older a little more pleasant.
Okay, first item is a presentation from Amg and Associates.
Thank you.
Members of the council, my name is Cameron Johnson, and I represent Amg and Associates in the Pacific Companies. Just as a way of background, we are an affordable housing development company based out of Los Angeles, and we've been in this business for about the last 20 years, along with the Pacific Companies. And over the last 20 years, we've probably developed close to 20,000 units in the Western United States, with my bread and butter and main focus being on rural tertiary communities such as Oroville. Building affordable family, senior, and permanent supportive housing for our homeless. Over the last couple of years, I've focused my efforts on trying to develop more housing in this area, especially after the recent fires and the many low-income households that have been displaced. So I've been working closely with the Butte County Housing Authority, and we're going to be building housing in Gridley, Orland, and hopefully here in Oroville. I'm going to see if I can work this here. So the project that we're going to talk with you about today is the Riverbend Family Apartments. Okay. On the side, there we go. Okay. This is just actually a slide to show you that the Pacific Companies, our co-development partner, last year ranked as the #1 affordable housing developer in the country. We started 2,500 units. The Riverbend Family Apartments, Phase 1 will consist of 72 units. Phase 2 will add an additional 48 units. The project's located at 205 Table Mountain Boulevard. It's a 7-acre site. It currently consists of 11 parcels. We'll be doing a lot line adjustment, lot merger to convert that into 3 parcels. The project will be funded and financed through the Affordable Housing and Sustainable Communities Program. And this is a very unique program. Unlike traditional affordable housing programs where you're just building an affordable housing development, this is actually going to be combined with public infrastructure. So we're going to be, and that number actually has been updated, but we'll be applying for about $11 million for the affordable housing development, and then upwards of $6 million for public transportation improvements to your city bike lanes, sidewalks, transit, and potentially adding some rideshare vans. So it's a very unique program, and I'm happy to answer questions and give you a more detailed breakdown of what that's going to look like. But it'll be upwards of $20 million that we're looking to bring here to the community. And the impact fees, we're looking at paying around, it's probably around $1.3 million in city impact fees for the project. The unit mix will consist of 36 two-bedroom units, averaging around 800 square feet, 36 three-bedroom units, around 1,000 square feet. And all of these units will be restricted to families in the Butte County area that make between 30 and 60% of the area median income. And the project will be 2- and 3-story buildings. We'll have 136 parking stalls, 7 bicycle racks, 2 bicycle lockers. We have many amenities on this project, a large playground, we have a fenced dog park, a basketball court, a large pool, a community center. And within the community center, we'll have an exercise room, a business center, a laundry facility, and a kitchen. One of the nice things about this project, too, is that we'll be providing supportive services to all of our tenants, which will include financial literacy and health and wellness classes. So the goal is to provide housing at a low cost, but also, we're looking to enhance the quality of lives of our residents. And the project will also be what's called a zero net energy development. So we will have solar panels at the project, and for all of the energy that we use, we'll be producing on site as well. Here's a copy of the site plan. And as you can see, the phase 1 is in the middle there, about 4 acres. The goal is to try to, we would like to break ground on this project, I'd say between the next 12 to 14 months. And the phase 2 would follow there within probably another 24 months thereafter. And in the corner, that's that little small acre piece you see that says not a part in the corner. We're looking at potentially building a passive park there, or working with the city on we have some different ideas of what would be a good addition for the community. Here's just some perspective renderings of the project. I know it's kind of hard to see, they're small, but you can see they're 2- and 3-story buildings. There'll be a wrought iron fence around the entire development, and it'll be well landscaped, and we also have a bus turnout that we're going to be adding. Here are just some more elevations. You can see we have vertical and horizontal siding, stone veneer, and we'll add 3 to 4 different colors just to break up the curb appeal and architectural appeal. Here are I think these are the 3-bedroom floor plans. All of the units will have washer and dryer hookups. We don't include washer and dryers in the units, but the tenant has that option. They all have covered patios and balconies, and large kitchens and living rooms. And then here are the 2-story or the 2-bedroom floor plans. I wanted to just show you a couple pictures of projects that we just recently completed in Lakeport. And the reason I'm showing pictures of this one is I was so happy with the way this project turned out that I asked our architect to just give it a similar look, and so that's what we did here. This is a smaller project. It's 24 units, and it's on 1255 Martin Street in Lakeport, if you guys are ever in the area. And this is the community building. Just a few pictures of the interior. And there's the playground. And we'll be providing that same playground here in Oroville. The basketball court. And that's basically it. So this is more of just an informational presentation for you guys. And if you have any questions on the project or the program, the funding program, I'm more than happy to answer them. Thank you.
Mayor,
Thank you.
if I could interrupt just for a
Yes, sir.
second so you can follow up with those questions. We want to make a slight amendment to the item number 2 on the consent agenda, which is this project. The project's still evolving, so we'd like to change the numbers to apply for up to $20 million, $11 million for affordable housing, $9 million for housing-related infrastructure. Don't want to pull it from consent, but want more flexibility in terms of the application. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Mr. Mayor, if I could just add, I don't know if Cam shared this with you earlier, but you are associated with the development company that built Boulder Creek, correct?
Actually, it's Hillview Ridge, I believe.
Hillview Ridge,
Yeah.
okay. I don't know if you've seen those complexes or not, but they're very well done, they're very well managed, they're very well cared for. So this isn't, we don't have a developer that's coming in with no track record, especially in this community. We have one with a very good track record that has done a very good job for us. And I don't know if you caught it or not, there's going to be a lot of amenities provided to the community that are beyond the affordable housing project itself, such as the bus turnout. We'll have better public transportation opportunities in that part of town. We'll also have there's curb gutter and sidewalk that come that are not just on site but are off site that are required as part of this project. So this is a very good project, I believe, not only for the affordable housing needs that we have in the community, but also the infrastructure, the opportunity that exists for us there.
Thank you. Councilmember Pittman.
Yeah, thanks for the presentation. I'm totally in support of this whole concept. This is what's the highest and best use of the property, and certainly is going to be a plus to the community. The one question I know, we have an extreme need in the single bed studio apartments. For everyone that opens up, I believe we have 10 applicants. Have you had any thought to adding that to this project or others?
We don't have any thought of adding it to this project, but we are working on potentially some senior housing here, which would be 1 and 2 bedroom and
Right.
studios, and also permanent supportive housing, which are generally studios, but those are more for the mentally ill and homeless,
Sure.
which there's a
Understood.
huge demand for right now. There's a crisis in the state, so I am working closely with the housing authority on trying to bring that next. The studio apartments, they're challenging to make pencil. They're difficult to be financially
Right.
feasible because they're expensive to build, but the rents are driven so low. But no, we're totally open to that. We're talking with the management company of Hillview Ridge. And yeah, and he's keeping us in the loop on where the real need is. Right now, we're just focused. We want to focus on getting these large family units up, and then from there, we're going to try to get into the senior market, permanent supportive housing, and then potentially some SRO, single room occupancy units.
Good, thank you. Glad to hear your interest.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Councilmember Goodson.
Great presentation, thank you. I just wanted, for clarification purposes, is this property located across from Sierra Village Apartments?
Yeah,
Yes,
I'm
it is.
not sure.
It's between the Oroville Apartments and the Highlands Apartments across from, I think it's Sierra, I can't remember.
Is that the
full-
property we were considering
Yes.
for safe space camping?
Correct.
Okay, very good. Do we have, and this probably isn't a question for you, I'm just curious what that average cost per unit would be. And so here's the question. This is obviously a affordable housing complex, and is the rent contingent upon one's income?
I believe that what was brought forward was it would be, you have to be 60% of the median income.
60%, thank you. And then my last
The
question.
price per unit, just if you take the raw numbers based upon the numbers that were in the report, it's about $220,000 per unit.
220,000 per unit, thank you. And then I have one other question. Were there any other properties that you looked at
Yes.
in the city at large?
Yeah,
And
there
I'm
were.
just going to say specifically South Oroville.
No, I don't think we looked in South Oroville. We had, actually, before we ended up at this Table Mountain site, we were looking at a site on Mitchell. And I forget the address. It's right near the motel there. We had that site. That was originally the first site we were looking at. It didn't work out. I'm actually happy it didn't. This is better because now we have an opportunity to build more units. That was going to be limited to maybe 60 units. Now we can do 120 units. And just one thing I'll just point out here, just so because I have the pro forma with me on what the rents are going to look like, but the rents will range
Thank
from
you.
about $400 to the large, the 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 60% rents will end up at $1,000. So they'll range from between $400 and $1,000, and they'll be based
Right.
off of a person's income.
Great, thank you so much.
The piece of property that I think you may be inquiring about, we are still actively working on that, and we're working toward, we've recently been in contact with Jamboree, so we may be having a
Excellent.
project coming for that particular blighted property that's been an issue for us for
so
quite a
long.
while.
All right, thank you, Chief. Bill.
Councilmember Hatley.
Thank you. The question I have is where this property is located is right there at the roundabout. And now, will the sewer connections for this property, will that be on Twisted's line going that way, or will it go through the cities? I'm just kind of wondering which And this is
I bel-
probably for you, Bill, because
I believe that would be connected to not necessarily the term of a transmission line, such as a main interceptor or something like that. Would be more of a feeder, so it'd be through Twisted System into our main interceptor that takes it to the facility.
well, the reason I'm asking, because I know we have some choke points.
Yes,
if
we have a
come
couple
down this
45s in
way,
there.
that we're going to have to address with a unit this size if we're going to send it, everything this way. And I just didn't know, because I know that Tornado Water and Sewer District is right there in that
Right.
area too. So I just didn't know which direction we were going to go, if we were going to have to do quite a bit of upgrading here. And this was just for my information to try to figure out.
Right,
you
we
know,
have
what
those
we're
two
gonna-
45s that we ended up that were
Right,
put in
the-
there for whatever reason. They're there, they exist. They have been performing well. We haven't had any issues. They're inspected monthly. However, I agree that's something we're gonna have to look at. And then I believe that it will come through Twisted System though into our system.
And
Okay,
then
'cause we do-
sitting
Like I
behind.
say, we do have some more choke points down along this
Correct.
route that we need to.
And I think right now, we're actually in the process, we'll be letting that contract before long for that. We're just about to the end of the engineering. It will be coming all the way down Table Mountain Boulevard, across the bridge, and down Montgomery Street, where we're gonna clear up a lot of that, I believe, probably this next summer.
Okay.
And that's
Now, get me
another-
wrong, I'm not against the price, I'm just trying to figure out, I just want to get, so I have the information, so I know which way we're going to
Right.
go with that.
Yeah,
Okay,
and I'll just point out that my engineer was here this morning,
wanted to
and we
add
went to the
that's why we
site,
bumped
and
up the number of
I've already
infrastructure.
engaged him to start doing some sewer capacity analysis and working with staff on that, so we're gonna get ahead of any potential issues, or maybe it was sewer.
And I think that was, Mr. Lando, that was his purpose of pumping up or jumping up from 15 to $20 million was for part of that, to ensure that we don't have any issues with that sewer line that we may have to upgrade or repair.
okay, thank you.
Councilmember Smith.
Yeah, great presentation, thank
Thank
you.
you.
Just quickly, the landscaping, as you were sharing at Lake Point or
Lakeport.
Lakeport, yeah. So I noticed a lot of cedar chip utilized in the landscaping. And so maybe give a quick explanation as to the maintenance plan, and then how perhaps that landscaping may or may not work in our particular geographical area, and thought about, fire, water, we just,
Sure.
of course, if you watched the court of Facebook, we learned that we're all gonna be allocated only 55 gallons a day. Not sure how that's gonna work out, but, so how does that all work into that?
I'll have
maintenance of the
a,
landscape?
we'll have a preliminary landscape plan completed on Thursday. I haven't seen that yet. I'm not exactly sure what they're gonna do, but they're using your local landscaping requirements. We generally go with a drought tolerant landscaping, which I think is why we did that in Lakeport. Here it may be different, but honestly, I apologize. I wish I had that report done. It was supposed to be done last week. It'll be completed on Thursday, and I'm happy to share that with staff, and they can give it to you guys so you can see the full landscape plan. And they'll work closely with Public Works to make sure that it meets all of your guys' code requirements.
I think there's an opportunity that exists too, if you'd like to see what types of landscaping that they do and how they maintain them, is to go through the Hillview Ridge Apartments, because I think it'll probably be very similar to
Yeah.
what already exists in this
Yeah.
area.
Okay, well, thank you very
you very
much,
much.
Ken. Excellent presentation. Okay, we're moving on to our public communication portion of the meeting. Madam Clerk, do we have any speakers?
Mr. Mayor, I have two speakers. I have Sherry Bunker and then Celia Hirschman.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council. I appreciate this opportunity. My concern is public safety. I live a block and a half away from a drive-by shooting that occurred on 6th and Pomona Saturday. And we're not used to that kind of stuff. It's just not, it's not good. And we don't, there was no information that was put out. We don't know what kind of car to look for, that type of thing. And it's concerning to me that this is happening in our neighborhoods. We usually have a fairly safe neighborhood. We have a lot of people walking around, but as far as I know, we haven't had many shootings down there. So just concerned, we need more law enforcement. Thank you.
Celia Hirschman.
Three things. The Montgomery Street Library is open, and we are getting many donations. Just want to mention it for the cameras, no problem. And I also was concerned about the information around someone getting shot in my neighborhood. That it would be great if maybe at the end when we do reports, if the police chief wanted to address that. It'd just be because there's no other way for us to know what's going on, and we all have friends and family and children. And the third thing was Cal Water. And what I wanted to suggest, since we're not able to do anything about our rates, Cal Water used to, and they on occasion do, offer a rebate to people who change their gardens into drip lines. I've already done it myself, but it saves you a huge amount of money. And I wondered if the city would consider encouraging our water provider to go back to doing rebates for changing it now, so that when we come up to spring, people can make those transitions, and maybe those 55 gallons will also help the state. Thank you.
And then we have the cameraman.
I'd like to remind everyone that they need to fill out their blue card before we get to an item.
Good evening, Oroville City Council. Happy New Year to everybody. 2020 is a brand new year, and I have this sticker here that I got last year at the desk and front desk area in City Hall there. It says, put Oroville on the map. So 2020, let's try and do that. Perfect number to do that. Some of the things I notice is maybe we can get some more signage to advertise the green tour, preferably something permanent on Highway 70. Also, I notice there's some boxes around town for the walking tour portion of it. For example, there's one at Robinson in the corner of Lincoln by the post office, and the sign on it's faded a little bit. There's no maps in it whatsoever. I understand that there's cost in making materials for that, but if there's going to be a box there should be at least maybe 1 or 2, 3 or 4 or 5 maps in there for people to partake in the tour. But like I said, it's also it costs money to make those maps. Maybe getting the green line painted in some portions. It's a little bit faded as well. And just pretty much try and put Oroville on the map. Preferably like to get some more advertisement of free museum admission day that's coming up on February 29th and March 1st, which is February 29th is a Saturday and Sunday is March 1st. So maybe you can get some more advertisement of that. I think that's going to be a great event. And briefly, I'd like to touch on the shooting that happened. I did try and go to the police department this morning and get a comment, any update regarding the shooting. No one was available, so hopefully, as the previous speaker said, maybe the chief can touch on that. Oroville is not known for many shootings, as far as I'm aware. So it's a matter of public interest, and we should all be aware of these issues when they happen. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, that is the last speaker card for public comment.
I think one thing that we all need to remember when there's an open investigation, not too much information can be given out because it taints the investigation and it makes the job of the police officers very hard when too much information is given out. I believe it's an isolated incident, but if our chief would like to touch on it just for a second. Let us know the guidelines.
Mr. Mayor, you're absolutely correct. It is an active investigation. There was a shooting. There was a drive-by shooting, 6th and Pomona. There was a subject shot. I'm not going to go into details on that portion of it, except for the fact that the subject is alive and stable. The reason you don't know what kind of car to look for is because we don't know what kind of car to look for. We had different statements on what the suspect vehicle was. So I don't want to say one of them and be incorrect. So it's an active investigation. We have some interviews still pending. And absent of that, I think an isolated incident would be the best way to describe that. I'm not really prepared to release any more information than what was in the initial press release.
Thank you, Chief. Okay. Having no more speakers on public communication, looking for a motion to adopt the consent calendar with item number 2 going to the amount of 20 million?
Correct.
Mr. Mayor, I do have one public speaker for consent calendar.
Okay, let's go ahead and adopt it, and then we can move on to the speaker. You want to hear the speaker?
You should hear the speaker prior to.
Oh,
Prior to.
okay, let's hear the speaker.
Bobby O'Reilly.
Good evening, Council, Mr. Mayor. Great to see all of you for the first time this year. Leave it to me to be the first pain in the rear on pulling a consent calendar item. Anyway, my comment about this item is just simply, I understand that my comment has little to do with this exact agenda item. However, it's the overall item in itself, the affordable housing in our community. My opinion, and the opinion of a lot of people I know, is that we need to start steering away from all of this affordable housing. We need to look at middle-class housing, upper-class housing. We have a lot of affordable housing in Oroville. The old saying that if you build it, they will come applies here. If you build it, they're going to come. If we build nothing but low-income, affordable income housing on the lower spectrum, they're gonna come fill those up, obviously, and then we will continuously, no matter how many we build, be in the same predicament of not having enough. This town is short of middle class and upper class housing. There is not a lot of that style. You build it, they will come. Find a couple areas of this town, find some investors to get interested in those places, and we need to start looking at those type of housings rather than low income. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, if I could just provide some information for the council regarding those comments. Last year, in the city of Oroville, there was 110 market rate houses that were built. That is a huge number for our community. This upcoming year, we right now anticipate probably, if I'm trying to do the math quickly in my head, 128 market rate and above market rate houses that are on tap to be built. So, I mean, I understand Mr. O'Reilly's comments. I believe there has to be a balance, and the balance, I think we can achieve that as long as we are working with the kind of numbers that we're talking about for market rate and above market rate houses. We've had an exemplary last year, and I think this year is going to be just as good or better. So I understand the comments regarding affordable housing, but we have to strike that balance.
And Bill, if I can
and-
add to that, council
if
may
you-
remember that by a 7-0 vote, you agreed to look at the Wilbur area for that type of housing specifically, and we are working on that actively.
And the other factors that must be considered into here, but, it's not just a decision that we make that is just made. I mean, we have RENA numbers that we have to meet. We are behind in those numbers. We're doing better than a lot of communities, but all communities are behind, and we're behind, and we have to get those numbers up. If you like, I know quite a bit about it. I'm very experienced in the RENA numbers. Amy can probably talk to you about it too, so she could gain some experience if you'd like to know about those.
And I'd like to comment on that too, because that's always been my point of view, is we need balance. Now, we started out with a lot of lower income or affordable housing. Now, we do have the developers here. Subdivisions are being developed with not only medium to upper medium income, but to executive housing. So all of that is in the works. That's going on. But we do have to meet requirements with affordable housing too. These are nice units. I would like to see this go in before I would want to see the dilapidated housing and things that we're used to. So I'm happy that this project's going in. It's a good-looking project, and Mr. O'Reilly, if you'd like to speak with me privately, I can tell you about all the developments that are going in. So your mind will be at ease. So looking for a motion. Oh, Councilmember Goodson.
I just wanted to piggyback off of what Bill, not Chief, Bill, mentioned in regards to, we have state mandates that every city has to abide by. Approximately 2.5 to 3 years ago, it was, statistics stated that we were 1,686 affordable housing units short from what was required. With that being said, if we don't meet that mandate within a certain time frame, we're subject to losing state funding. With that being said, that takes into consideration veteran housing, senior housing, and affordable housing. I believe that we we're doing as best as we can within the time constraints that we have, the best of our ability. Also, we have to bear in mind that affordable housing, it is what it is here. We have a population that lives approximately 34 to 38% of our population that lives below poverty level. So.
I'd like to piggyback on that. And we actually have over 8,500 people a day who commute to work in Oroville who do not have a place to live. So that's why the upper medium executive housing is coming, because they're doctors, nurses, teachers. If you've lived here any time at all, you know that a lot of our county workers, some of our city workers, our teachers, most of our teachers, they all live in Chico. There's nowhere for them to live. So that's why we're building that housing, so they can live in our community as well. Councilmember Smith?
Yeah, to not overuse the term piggyback.
Might as well.
But, yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're the county seat, and we have a lot of well-paid folks that commute into our community, and we need to provide housing so that they can live and work and spend their money right here. That being said, we're going to be doing a ribbon cutting here shortly with Crown. They're getting ready to build some median level homes over by the airport, so we're real excited about that. So when I think you look at, I think we just had the proposal with 72 units. We just did over 100. Now we're getting ready to build another 72. These are middle housing. So I think we're going in the right direction as far as a good mix. And so we're moving forward, and we're just excited about the future for Oroville. Thank you.
Thank you. Looking for a motion to adopt the consent calendar, item number 2, moving that number to 20 million.
I move that we adopt the consent calendar, and let's see, there's an amendment to item 2 in the amount of 20 million.
I'll second that.
Motion carries.
Okay, again, I'd like to remind anyone, if they'd like to speak on an item, please fill out your blue card before we get started. We don't want anybody running up, hearing a comment and then running up to respond to it. You should have your comments prepared. Okay, item number 5, first reading of a draft ordinance of the City of Oroville, amending sections 1704-060 and 528-0110, and adding sections 528-095, 528-130, and 528-140 of the Oroville Municipal Code regarding prohibiting the sale of flavored tobacco.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council. I'd like to introduce to you, if you have not previously met, this is Wes Irvin. He is our contract planner. Wes has been driving this process with the Planning Commission, and it is now back before you. In October of 2019, I believe it was the first, we met, and we were given direction to take this to the Planning Commission. The council at the time was requesting a Planning Commission review and recommendation for a complete ban of flavored tobaccos in the city of Oroville, vaping juices and menthol cigarettes. That's all included in there. That has been through the process at this point. We are returning today with a three-prong potential recommendation. The first recommendation choice that you have to make, or decision that you have to make, is you can go with a complete ban as you originally directed. You can also, as a secondary position, you could go to sending it to tobacco stores only for 21 and over, where they could obtain flavored tobaccos, vape oils, menthol cigarettes, and such products. Or your third option that the Planning Commission has recommended is no action. A letter to the governor would be the action suggested by our Planning Commission to encourage the governor to ban these things, not only in Oroville, but on a statewide level. So that's kind of been a little overview of the process. We're now at January 7th. If you give direction today for option A or B, which is either the complete ban or the back to the tobacco shops, or sending it to tobacco shops only. After that, we would conduct a public hearing at the next meeting, which would be the 21st, and then 30 days after that, the ban would go into effect, or the restriction to the shops are there. Either way you can go. Wes will facilitate that process, and Wes is here to answer any additional questions that you may have regarding the potential ban that you're considering tonight.
What's your,
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, and assembled guests. As Bill has stated, the council directed staff on October 1st to develop an ordinance that bans all flavored tobacco products in the city of Oroville. Because Title 17, covering land use, is affected, along with Title 5, the business code, you also directed the Planning Commission to consider the matter and make recommendations to the council. Appropriately, the commission has fulfilled their duty by duly evaluating information from staff, hearing testimony from proponents and opponents, asking staff for more information, and seriously deliberating twice before making their recommendation to council. Because the recommendation differs from the council's original direction, Commissioners Sears and Britton are here this evening to explain their recommendations and to answer any questions you may have. Even though you directed preparation of the ordinance now before you, in the interest of full disclosure and based on all the subsequent discussions that have occurred since October 1st, and we've received again over 100 opposing and dozens in favor of the ordinance. Many of the newest are with the city clerk tonight. So the four options that Bill has described are before you tonight to consider. The last one would be whether you would prefer immediate or delayed implementation of a ban, 6 months or 1 year, which many communities have included in their ordinances. So I'll conclude there.
thank you, Wes. Okay, Madam Clerk, do we have any speakers on this item?
Mr. Mayor, we have several speakers,
How many is several?
over 10. There are 15 speakers on this item.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, I have spoken with Ms. Blankenship, who is the representative of the California Health Collaborative, who is a big proponent of this potential ban. And through our conversation, she's has stated that, she will speak on behalf of the proponents of the ban. There will be a couple other speakers that are also proponents, and they may come up as multiple groups at a time to present their position. She would also like to reserve a position at the end to, in the event that there is information that is provided from the opponents that she feels is necessary for, not her, but another blue card that is already in, to have the body here.
Okay, so Ms. Blankenship like to speak?
Good evening, council, mayor. Thank you again for talking about this. As you know, we've been before this body many times to talk about flavored tobacco in youth. Over the last couple of months, this issue has gotten even worse. More youth are now addicted to nicotine than ever. In response, more jurisdictions are banning the sale of flavored tobacco products, as you've heard. I'm not sure if Wes mentioned, I think at our last meeting it was 50 jurisdictions, now it's 60. So recently the FDA banned some flavored vaping products, but this does not go far enough. It exempts e-juice. So we've brought bottles of e-juice before you. You've seen what they look like, gummy bear, cotton candy, whatever. It also doesn't include any other flavored products, tobacco products, and it's temporary. Recently, the city of Chico voted to create a policy, and even the town of Paradise is considering it. I wanted to also speak about, since Wes brought up that there's been hundreds or 100 letters in opposition, we've collected 547 signatures of support from Oroville residents to ban flavored tobacco products here. So now's the time to be proactive, to head off all the other future flavored nicotine products the tobacco industry is cooking up, and they're coming up with new ones all the time. Thank you for making a decision tonight to protect Oroville kids. That's it.
Susan Sears.
Good evening. I also have Mike Britton with me.
Good evening.
First, a little bit of history. In 1968, the state of California banned smoking in all grocery stores. That's how long it's been. But it still continued to be legal almost everywhere else. Then about 30 years ago, the city of Oroville proposed an ordinance that would have prohibited smoking inside most buildings that are open to the public. The hearing in this room was so contentious and so crowded that it had to be moved to the State Theater. Even though the ordinance failed by a vote of 4-3, it brought us some very unwanted attention. Oroville was one of 3 American cities that were targeted by big tobacco, which pumped nearly $8,000 into this little town to do a recall campaign. The mayor and 2 council members, the 3 who voted yes, lost their jobs over this issue. And remember, the ordinance was not passed. Then, just a few months later, the state of California passed a statewide law that was even more strict than what Oroville had been proposing. We had some exceptions, they had none. If only we'd waited just a little while longer. Now, some recent history. Last week on New Year's Eve, the president announced that he would be placing a nationwide ban on flavored tobacco products, but it may be only temporary. He is, of course, feeling enormous pressure from the tobacco industry lobbyists. In May this year, there will be an FDA review of all e-cigarettes, and only those that can demonstrate a benefit for U.S. public health will be permitted to stay on the market. We'll see if they can make that.
Your time is up, man. Your time is up. Does he have a blue card filled out? It's 2 minutes. Yeah.
Well, if you guys, or be right here.
Sure.
Okay?
Thank you.
I just basically didn't want to see 471 cities and 58 counties trying to adopt.
Thank you, ma'am.
The cameraman.
Good evening again, Oroville City Council. I'd like to comment on this ordinance. First of all, I don't believe there's enough study done yet. I do believe that there are health problems, but I believe there should be more study to further prove the issues with vaping. But I also believe that people have a liberty to choose what legal substances to ingest into their body and what legal substances not to ingest into their body. And I feel that it's a bit of an infringement for the government to say, well, you can't use this or you can't use that. And again, we're talking about vaping, and another dangerous, drug out there like vaping is alcohol. But no one gets uproared about that. But on another note, my thing is, where are the parents in this? It seems to me that if you know vaping is bad, you have a child that is vaping, why don't you take that vape away? Unless they're over 21, or 21, then they're a grown adult and they have a right to choose to ingest that in their body at that point. But where's the enforcement on that part? Why does it have to be us, the people, and the city council to create ordinance to prevent youths from getting their hands on tobacco? And another thing, what about the store owners? Why are they being complicit in this problem? They need to start asking for more IDs, and they should ask for IDs. And even the ones that do ask for ID and they see that the person's underage, they still sell sometimes. But they should be considered anytime they're selling to the minor, that minor could be a potential decoy. I don't know if you're aware, but there are decoy operations out there now that specifically target stores that are selling to underage youth. And I think we should invest more of that to solve this problem rather than ban the use.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, I thought when we were over 10 speakers, you adjusted the time.
We did. I apologize. That was my fault.
Mm-hmm.
So I will move it to a
It's been that way
minute.
since last January, ma'am.
I will change the time to a minute and a half.
Okay. Thank
Josh
you.
Edwards is next.
Leave it at 2, Jeff.
Leave it at 2? Okay.
What's that?
Mr. Mayor, since we've had some speakers that had 2 minutes, to be fair to everybody.
Continue on.
Yeah, let's
Yes.
continue with 2
I
minutes.
apologize.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. My name is Joshua Edwards. I'm the smoke-free outreach worker at the African American Family and Cultural Center. I'm here because I am concerned about the youth here in Oroville and their future. The truth is that flavored tobacco and vaping products are being advertised to our youth, and to get them addicted and hooked on the products. $9.5 billion are being used to advertise to our youth their vaping products and tobacco products, and it is working. Through working with the students, teachers, and student resource officers at our local schools, it is extremely alarming to how big of a problem that this is. This is becoming one of the biggest issues at our schools. Students are witnessing the growth of vaping in their schools and on campuses. Students are being suspended, and the number of youth needing interventions are growing. I think that we need to make it harder for our youth to get their hands on these products. It's our jobs to be game changers. It's your jobs to make the city of Oroville better. So I believe that we need to give our youth a chance to live a healthier life and ban all flavored tobacco and vaping products out of Oroville. Thank you.
Next, we have Chloe Graham and then Joni Meyer.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. Hi, my name is Chloe Graham. I live here in Oroville, California. I am a senior here to speak on behalf of our Oroville youth. Last time I was here, I talked to you guys before about my cousin who had a seizure from vaping. Currently, he is a high school student here in Oroville who is unable to play basketball or football anymore because he suffered from a seizure. Our younger youth isn't getting hooked on flavored tobacco from our parents. We look up to the older kids in our high schools, middle schools, and we look at them as an example. This is just more youth getting hooked on flavored tobacco. I'm asking you guys to please consider the ban of flavored tobacco for my friends and your youth. Thank you.
Joni Meyer and then Bruce Baldwin.
Meyer, I'm a teacher at Chico State University, and I teach a class called Drugs and Society. And so,
Can you?
so we've been keeping a lot of information about vaping going on in our nation. First of all, I just want to ask you: do you know what is the first part of the brain to develop as human beings grow? You know, when a kid is a teenager, is it the reward center that's powerful, or is it the judgment center that's powerful? The reward center. And the judgment center develops until they're at the age of 25. So until they get to that age, they need to depend on us adults to guide them and to protect them. And so when we have to make a decision like this, we have to say, how can we protect the children from themselves? And then having a ban on flavored vaping is sending a message to them that it is an unsafe practice and nicotine is a terrible substance. Okay? And unicorn poop, honestly, that's one of the flavors of the vaping, unicorn poop. They're not advertising to a Marlboro smoker. They're advertising to children. Okay. That's it.
Bruce Baldwin and then Katie Moose.
My name is Bruce Baldwin. I'm a former smoker. Vaping supporters argue that e-cigarettes provide a healthier alternative to smoking and therefore are useful to help people quit. I believe that's clearly a false argument. We don't yet know the long-term health effects of vaping, but it is very clear that in the short term, vaping is actually more dangerous than smoking. Since last May, the CDC has documented 2,561 cases of Americans hospitalized by E-Valley, vaping-associated lung injury. 57 have died. The youngest was 17. I smoked for over 30 years. I never knew of a single 17-year-old to die from cigarettes. The majority are young. 55% are 25 years old or younger, or 24 years old or younger. Sorry, I got a Band-Aid on, I can't turn the page. Maybe 20% are teens. Clearly, vaping is not a safe alternative to smoking. While I strongly support small business, as a former smoker, a parent, and a grandparent, I believe it is my responsibility to protect youth from a predatory industry that clearly depends on addicting children to make their profits. I hope you agree. Thank you.
Katie Moose and then Danette York.
Hello, my name is Katie Moose, and I work for the Stand Project, which is a nonprofit that's working with rural communities throughout California in tobacco prevention. I started smoking when I was 14, and I smoked for 18 years. And I look back and I wonder, you know, what made me start smoking in high school? Why did I do it? But something that I've learned now that I work in tobacco prevention that I didn't know then was that 30% of high school students in California in the 90s, at that time when I was in high school, smoked cigarettes. So like a third of my classmates were smoking with me. Now that rate in California, high school smoking cigarettes is down at like 5%, which is a huge win and like something we should really be proud of. A big part of that is policy change, which has led to social norm change around smoking. You have heard store owners say that they don't sell to kids, and that's true for the most part. Most of them don't sell to kids, but there have been some recent stings conducted in Butte County, and they have shown that about a third of the stores in Butte County are actually selling to people who are under the age to purchase tobacco. So that's quite a bit, a third. And that includes tobacco-only stores. At the state level, tobacco-only stores and vape shops are actually the most common type of store that will sell to a person that is underage when you're comparing it to like, convenience stores and grocery stores and liquor stores and stuff. They're the most common type of stores to sell to kids underage. So get rid of flavored tobacco in Oroville. And
Thank you.
Danette York, and then Kevin Sharkarskar.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. My name's Danette York. I just wanted to take a second to let you know that I'm the Director of Public Health for Butte County. And I understand that there was, maybe from the Planning Commission or others, there was a expressed concern that if the ban in Oroville took effect, that children or others would just go outside the city limits and make their purchases. And why weren't we having a movement going forward to the Board of Supervisors for the county to do the same thing? And so I'm just here tonight to let you know that there is a plan to do that. There is a presentation that will be taking place. It's not scheduled on the agenda yet, but it has been approved to be added to the agenda, where public health educators, so some staff members of the Butte County Public Health Department will be doing the same presentation that you've probably heard previously with similar statistics and information, and asking for that consideration as well for a county-wide ban. Thank you.
Thank you.
Kevin, and then Ashtok.
I'll go by Kenny. Easy for everyone. I'm a small business owner. I've been in Butte County for 35 years. I've been selling tobacco for 37 years. I've never smoked. I've had 15 liquor stores. I've never had alcohol in my body. So just mean that they're advertising after my youth. Please wake up. Number one, we don't want youth to have access to tobacco or vapes. Every business owner wants to protect their business. Their business would be, if you just lose a tobacco license, you're losing about $300,000 net worth on your business. So which one of you guys want to give up your equity of $300,000? No one. They do make mistake, and I say punish those SOBs, excuse my language. If they do wrong, punish them. I have no problem. I have 4 children. If my children wanted to smoke and they're under 21, my baby is 28 now, so I don't have to worry about that. But if they're sold it to a minor, I wish they would punish them. Put a $5,000 fine. I don't care. But don't punish the good operator. Every one of you, 2 years ago I came here and I asked, do you want me to limit what you can drink, what you can smoke? As a citizen, we're selling a legal product. We have a license from the city and the state to sell the product. Why are you punishing us? If youth are getting these access, let me ask you 2 points. With a $2 price went up on cigarette, average pack of cigarettes is about $10. A vape kit and a juice is $70. Which parent is giving their children $70? So please listen to the planning department and wait for the state, because as you know, yesterday the state came up with the SB 739, where they will be making a complete demand for the whole state. As far as trying to protect the youth, like I said, if there's a bad person,
Thank you.
Ashok.
Mr. Mayor and members, I am here to oppose to banning the cigarette flavored tobacco. I don't know why they bring in the city notice. If you guys stop here to sell the cigarette, people go to the adjacent area like Palermo, etc., other cities, they buy over there. People travel all over. If they stop here to buy, they must go there, and we lose our business too. And other state people, the next adjacent towns, they make more money than us, and city lose their revenue too. We are not against the ban, but if you want to ban, pass the memorandum, sent to the state, ask them ban whole state. I am happy. We all are happy. We spend millions of dollars to run our business, and we are paying all the taxes, permits, too much compliances we already paying. So I am here to oppose all these things. I am thankful to you not to pass it. Thank you.
Tony Verma, and then Ellen Michaels.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and council members. Like everybody said, that we are legally licensed and we follow all the rules. The prices have been raised. The minimum age has been raised. And there's more awareness through a lot of media and everything. Then I don't know how much we want to control and up to what extent we want to go. Flavor is in everything. Candies, alcohol, the simple drinks, juices. At one point of time, I think every one of us try to, taste different flavors, which is human nature. Yes, there are a lot of flavors in the vape juices or other tobacco products. When we sell the product, we have never sold it to any underage, under 21. Our customers, we always check their license. We all know our customers. They are regular customers. And a lot of people here, they have concern that 1/3 of the stores sell it to the minors. Of course, they probably don't like their business if they're doing it. But if one of the adults or parent comes in and they buy the product, I don't think that it's our job to go after everybody and see whether they're in their house they're giving to their kid or they're giving to their cousin or what they're doing with that product. Because our job is that we don't sell it to underage. And that's what we have been doing. And another issue they raised that our president is thinking of banning everything. Yes, he denied it because his major concern was that there will be a parallel illegal market which will evolve. He said that right now, all these big companies are making the product. But when we gonna ban this...
Excuse me, sir, your time's up. Thank you.
Ellen Michaels, and then Bobby O'Reilly.
Ellen Michaels, Butte County Public Health. I wanted to respond to what one of the gentlemen said about loss of revenue after losing a license, tobacco license. I just want to remind you all of how much smoking and tobacco use costs all of us. There was a study done a few years back that looked at the costs from smoking, the costs in direct costs in healthcare, hospital costs, drug costs, nursing home care, and indirect costs and lost productivity from illness from smoking. And they determined that for Butte County, and they figured these numbers for every county in the state, and for Butte County, it was $829 per year per resident. And when you looked at the cost per smoker, it was almost $5,000. So keep that in mind, that this is something that costs all of us, and we all bear the cost because we're paying for the medical costs, and 40% of our folks on Medi-Cal are tobacco users. I also wanted to respond to the comment about this having the state do it or the feds do it. We can't count on that. What I've seen, and I've worked in tobacco control for a long time, is that it's when local communities do this, and enough of them do it, that's when the state and that's when the feds see that it needs to happen. And so, local control, you really have the control here in Oroville. You can choose to do what's right for the youth here, and that will help with the state and the federal government doing what's right also. Thank you.
Bobby O'Reilly, and then my last speaker is Shelley Brantley.
Good evening again. So I am a smoker of 16 years. I have been smoking 2 to 3 packs of cigarettes a day for approximately the last 5 to 6 years. I do not like smoking. I do not think smoking is good. I think smoking is bad and nasty and disgusting. However, that's where I'm at. On smoking, vape products. I recently got into this vaping thing, and it has indeed helped me cut back on my smoking. And this is just for me personally. It has indeed helped me cut back on my smoking. I have not suffered any medical conditions or medical problems from vaping for the past, I'd say, about 8 months. I have not had any vapes blow up, kill me, harm me, put me in the hospital. Those instances that these things are happening are from illegal products. They are not from legal manufactured products that are sold in these stores. They are from modified equipment that are sold in these, or that are people are making themselves. It's not from the legal products, it's from the illegal products. I've done extensive research on that topic, and if you'd like to know more, I'd be happy to explain it. We have laws in effect right now, 21 and older. Kids aren't supposed to be smoking. My kids don't smoke. I smoke up to 3 packs of cigarettes a day. I'm 16 years smoking. My kids don't smoke. None of my kids smoke. You know why? Because I'm their parent, and I don't let them smoke. I won't allow them to smoke, and I know that I make sure to let them know, and I know that they know smoking is bad. That's my responsibility as a parent, to keep the stuff out of the hands of my children until they are old enough to make that decision for themselves. Thank you.
Next is Shelley Brantley, and then the last speaker will be Cecilia Hirschman.
Good evening. You know, I remember hearing youth probably over a year ago or more coming up here and speaking so very passionately, asking for a full ban on the sale of flavored tobacco products. And my heart broke. I mean, they talked genuinely from their heart about what they see in the schools and other places. They know what's going on in the middle schools. They know what's going on in the high schools. They see it in their peer groups. They see it on campuses. I remember hearing parents and grandparents talk passionately about what they're seeing in their children's peer groups. These products are available. You know, you heard that 30% of stores, certainly not the ones represented here tonight, 30% of convenience stores do sell. As soon as that word gets out, you know, amongst the high school students, you know, they know where to go, right? So that's something that we have to deal with. I'm so very proud of you as a city council to not wait for the state, to not wait for the federal government to say you're looking at what is in the best interest of our youth, of Oroville as a city. So I thank you for that. It takes courage to be leaders, and you're leaders, so thank you very much.
Our last speaker is Cecilia Hirschman. Cecilia.
Well, I also was very moved when the proposition was brought forth, and I listened to all of you, and you were all in full support. And in fact, more than unanimously, more than anything I've ever heard. And I was so grateful to hear that, because some politicians think it's a political football to be kicked down the road. I also think it has merit for adults too. And I'll tell you why, because we're not really trying to fight small business. We're trying to fight for our children's lives. And we're fighting a $9 billion industry that wants you to say no. And the fact is, many years ago in the 60s, I'm sure someone did a presentation, they targeted menthols to blacks. And the overwhelming amount of blacks who developed lung cancer and lung disease skyrocketed. It was our way of being ignorant to a real social crisis. When the federal government put seatbelts, asked everyone to put seatbelts on, it wasn't just so your child would be safe. It was so our insurance rates would not skyrocket. This is your opportunity
to make a difference in this community in a way that will help people for years. And I really support this measure wholeheartedly. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any more speakers, Madam Clerk?
Mr. Mayor, Regina Elena, the young lady here in the maroon colored jacket, she arrived a little bit late and put in her card afterward. Our policy is that we don't accept cards after the item has begun. I have spoken with her, and what she wanted to relay to the council is that she is in favor of a ban of the flavored tobaccos because of the damage she's seen it's done to the children in our community.
Thank you. All right. Well, appreciate everyone's comments. Are there any comments from the dais? Councilmember Pittman.
Thank you. And I thank all the people that are in the audience today to talk about this and share your opinions. I happened to have the opportunity to go to the high school and received a 2-hour training session on the vaping issue. And, you know, it's not in my radar, it's not in my wheelhouse, but I was frankly shocked at the state of the industry that is maliciously and with malice and intent attacking our youth. And it is amazing to me that we're having to install vaping detectors in all our classrooms because these guys are making clothing so you can hide the use of it. I saw a hooded shirt where the strings have the tubing inside and they can vape in class by sucking on the string of a hood. I was just appalled. And I thought, where in the world? I mean, the other side of it, we talk about vaping, we talk about tobacco. The real issue is nicotine. Nicotine is the addictive chemical here. Anybody ever look up the definition of nicotine? Look it up in Webster's dictionary. It's an insecticide. I remember in the 60s when my grandmother had me spray it around the ranch out at the Rice Fit Ranch, Willows. It's a powder that was banned because it absorbs through the skin. It's an insecticide. And you would ask me to vote it's okay to throw it into our youth? Sorry, this just doesn't work. It doesn't compute. I say shame on the manufacturers for even coming up with this. I shame on our federal government for allowing this product to even be sold. I mean, people are going to die from this stuff. I also would caution anyone selling this, check your insurance liability, because when the lawsuits start coming, how are you going to defend yourself in selling an insecticide to be used for human consumption? I'm not an attorney, but I'd like to have that case. I think I'd win it. The other thing that's happened here is there's a comparison between tobacco and vaping. Vaping is a whole different ballgame. You're talking about concentrations of 90% or higher, and there is no water in it. People that tell me that it's a water vapor thing, I don't know how you're getting water vapor because there's no water vapor in it. There's no water in the chemical in the juice, even the legal stuff coming across the table. So I just can't knowingly vote for anything other than a complete ban on the sale of these products because I look at it as a very incredible assault on our youth. I was shocked to see how much of it is happening in our high schools, and our superintendents and the principals are being notified when the vaping detectors go off in the classrooms. Do we have to go that far with this stuff? Obviously, I'll be supporting the ban. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Smith.
I appreciate the business people that spoke up and the impacts on business. Anytime you're in business, with that comes great reward. Also, there's risk that are involved. I think about our grocery store owners who sometimes their product is found to have, E. coli or some other, foreign object there that they have to then recall and pull that product. And as it relates to this particular issue, I mean, the concern that's, I think, just gotten my attention personally is the loss of life that has been linked to, being involved in that behavior of vaping. And, federal government, as Bill pointed out, moves at a glacial pace. And we're a little bit more nimble on a local level. We're able to respond to things. And I think in this particular situation, that we have a responsibility to our constituents, to the community. And so if shame on us that if we didn't take an action and something happened to a young person in our own community, that perhaps that if we'd taken a step or a measure that we could prevented someone from either becoming debilitated or worse, a loss of life, then, we have to weigh that out. Our responsibility as a government and our responsibility to our constituents, that's you, and then also weighing out the fact that as a free society that we have the right to conduct our business and to conduct that as we see fit. And so I step into this with great fear and trepidation anytime that government's going to say, I'm going to limit your activities, your right to sell product or do something in your store. That's a serious thing. But public safety, again, going back to the the incidents in a grocery store, if a product is found to be unsafe, then at what point does government have a responsibility to step into that situation to protect the community from harm? And I think that this particular situation meets that criteria. And when it comes to setting precedent, I appreciate Susan. Is that Susan Sears? I appreciate, the history and going back 30 years and what happened. And, times change. Back then there was a lot of sensitivity, of course, to limiting people's freedom to smoke and to access that product. And, but this is a new time. And I think Oroville, we've been a city of leadership and of precedent. If you go back to 1918, Elizabeth Hughes was a school teacher in Oroville, California. And you know what she was? She was the first woman elected to the state legislature. Imagine that. Oroville was the first. We were a progressive community. Woohoo, ladies. So, you think about setting a precedent, being a leader, being bold, being brave, stepping out, doing something different and unique. And so it was very unfortunate what happened to you in that experience. And I'm sure it's hurtful. But at the same time, leadership, we have to step out and be bold and do, at the end of the day, I think what's right. Can I look at myself in the mirror knowing that this product potentially could take the life of one of our youth? So at that point, should I then take that bold step and step out and do something that would then limit the freedom of some of our merchants in our community for the benefit and the sake of our youth? And I say in this particular case, as Oroville's been a leader in the past, we will be leaders in the future. And so for me, I'm willing to take that step. Thank you.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Thompson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, everybody, for being here tonight. Just to be kind of candid with everybody here in this room, this banning anything for me goes against a lot, because it's not, for me, it's a parenting issue. I mean, we have an example. Bobby says, he's got kids and he smokes. I did the calculation. That's over $7,000 you spend a month or a year on cigarettes. It's a lot. That's private education for a kid. But yeah, anyway, one of your kids could be going to private school. But anyway, so anyway, I have a huge issue with banning anything. I'm huge, big time proponent for our Second Amendment rights. And for me, it's a huge topic. I'm a very strong believer in freedoms for our people. We live in a free country. And so it breaks my heart to hear. I do not doubt the facts that are presented regarding the vast number of kids who are getting their hands on this product. We trust these store owners, whomever is selling it, whether it be tobacco shops, liquor stores, or your convenience stores, wherever it's being sold. In fact, anyway, wherever it's being sold, we are, when this was sent out or released or allowed for them to sell it, there's a level of understanding that there needs to be some management of getting it into the right hands. And just obviously that's not happening. So as a person that's sitting on this dais, understanding the freedom, but also protecting my kids, I got 2 boys, and thinking about the protection of them, and I hope that they're being parented well. I'm trying to parent them well, but still the challenges that parents face. But anyway, so yeah, my leaning towards is regretfully for a ban. I mean, I'm a little curious on why menthol is in there, because that, from my understanding, that's been in our society for a long time. So why all of a sudden is this being thrown in there? That's probably my biggest issue with this one. But currently, as it stands, I'm grieving, but leaning on the side of banning. I wish I had a full 100% either way, but I don't at this point.
Thank you. Are there any other comments from the dais? Having none, I'd like to say a few things. We were elected as your leaders. And I appreciate the Planning Commission's input, but we weren't elected to pass the buck and hope that somebody down the road might do something. We were elected to do something. We were elected to stand up for this community. And if that puts our jobs at risk, you can have mine, because I'm here to look out for this community. I'm not worried about this seat. I'm worried about those seats. And when I seen the evidence of what I seen and the devastation that was created, who's selling it, who's not selling it, I'm kind of curious as to the business owners with the bottom line. It's going to affect our bottom line. Then if it's all about the money, then how come you're not encouraging your own families to use it? Because that's affecting your bottom line. Because it's bad. Because it's no good for them. That's why you ban it. That's why you banned it at your house. I'm sorry, I was elected to stand up and do something in this town. I don't live in fear. I try and do what's right, and I try and look out for the whole community. And I think that everyone on this dais shares that, because I've seen strength in every one of them. So I think that about covers everything that I have to say, and I apologize if some businesses are going to get hurt, but I'm sorry. I have to look out for the whole community, not just a couple businesses. And if you want to talk about losing revenue, I've lost millions in revenue in my company being in this seat. I guarantee you, this is a very expensive seat. And if somebody wants to kick me out of it, then I'll go right back to work. But revenue, yes, sir. I've spent plenty on being in this seat, and I hope this community appreciates it. If there are no more comments, we're ready for
I'll make a motion that we approve the first reading of a draft ordinance of the City of Oroville, amending sections 1704-060 and 528-010, and adding sections 528-095, 528-130, 528-140 of the Oroville Municipal Code regarding prohibiting the sale of flavored tobacco.
I second that.
Mr. Mayor, if I might, there was a question that was posed to me, and so I want to make a clarification. This ordinance is regarding the sale, not regarding the use.
Yes.
So
Yes.
I just want to.
We understand.
I know, but someone from the public asked that question, and so I want to clarify for the public. This is regarding the sale
Yes.
of these items in Oroville.
So do I need to make a second again? Thank you.
We have no vote here.
Motion carries.
No.
Mr. Mayor, just for clarity of what we just did, so everybody knows, because I know there was a lot of numbers in there and there may be some confusion. This is the council's action to have a complete ban of flavored tobacco. So that was the one that was selected.
Yes.
And for members of the public, again, I'll clarify, this will come back at the next council meeting for a second reading. The ordinance will take effect 30 days after the second reading. 30 days after the second reading.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to item number 6, adoption of Butte County Local Hazard Mitigation Plan.
Mr. Mayor, Mr. Vice Mayor, council members, good evening.
I bet you have, because. Can't. Believe it.
They wouldn't be able to hear me, it's too noisy.
And we said, I appreciate it. I do. I really do.
I think
You're
moving
committed.
forward, we definitely got a better atmosphere around here, better attitude.
All right, take 2. Mr. Mayor, Mr. Vice Mayor, council members, good evening. This item is the adoption of Butte County's local hazard mitigation plan. What you're going to be having passed in front of you is just a very small portion of this several hundred, if not thousand-page document. The city of Oroville participated in the mitigation planning process to prepare that. Each city takes a portion of it and works on that. I can't go without commending Lieutenant Solano, who's standing right over here. He's the one who did the majority of the work in that for the department and for the city. He consulted various departments in the city to get the information needed. What's before you tonight is just simply to getting it adopted. In order to simplify it, in order for the city to be eligible for federal hazard mitigation assistance, FEMA requires the hazard plan, and it requires the city to adopt it. When the city adopts it, it shows its support for it, and that's all it is. We're just looking to get it adopted, and like I said, in order to remain eligible for the assistance, we have to have it. The document in the staff report, I put a website. That's where you can actually go review the several hundred to 1,000 pages. That page, the City of Oroville's appendix is about 120 pages. That's why it's copied on both sides, just to try to shorten it up a little bit for you. But each city in Butte County is doing this right now, and we have till February 1st to try to get it through all the councils for adoption as well.
Okay, do we have any speakers on this item?
Mr. Mayor, I do not have any speaker cards for this item.
Do we have any comments from the dais? Having none, looking for a motion to adopt item number 6 on regular business.
So moved.
Motion carries.
Okay, item number 7, adoption of formal meeting schedule for 2020.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council. The item before you is just to set the starting times for your council meetings. The charter requires that you have one council meeting per month. It also requires that the first meeting in January after an election be at 8 p.m. Other than that, it is up to your discretion to set those times. Staff is proposing that we begin closed session at 4:30 and open session at 5 p.m. This is just a suggestion and a proposed recommendation. It is the council's prerogative, so what we're looking for is what time you would like to start your meetings.
Do we have any speakers on this item?
Mr. Mayor, I do have 2 public speakers. First is the cameraman, and then second is Bobby O'Reilly.
Good evening. evening again, Oroville City Council. I'd just like to comment on this briefly. One, I'd just like to say I prefer the agenda where we have the closed session at 5:30 and then the regular meeting at 6, or maybe we should do the closed session at 5 and have the regular meeting begin at 5:30, preferably for the people that get out around later in the evening. I know some people don't get off work until around that time, so maybe that could be a suggestion. And just finally, where's the outrage about this? I know last year that the mayor had a meeting at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and that was in relation to an event in Paradise, so the members of the council can attend that. And the media, there was coverage about it, and it was a big uproar, but here it says the council may adjust times for open session and closed session, and from my understanding, that could be any time. I'm just wondering, where's the outrage in that? But I guess if you do it at 1 o'clock, then it'll outrage people. But if you can put it in the agenda here and suggest it may be changed in no specific time, I guess that's not too outrageous to get an uproar. Just something to point out. Thank you.
Bobby O'Reilly.
Just to kind of piggyback off the cameraman, I just want to, again, as I stated the last time that a time change was considered for council meetings, remind the council, as the council I'm sure is fully aware, there's working people on the council, that some of us do work 8 to 5s or a little bit later than that even. Other people work other hours, understandably. Your average citizens work 8 to 5s, 9 to 5s, whatever you want to call it. It is very, had I not, even with tonight's meeting, this is my own opinion, my own views, but had I not maybe just went a mile or so over the speed limit on my way here, and had I not had perfect traffic conditions, and had I not had a perfect parking space in front of City Hall, I probably wouldn't have been here in time to talk on what I wanted to talk on. So please consider jobs and related times when you guys consider this. I thought this had come up the end of last year, and I thought that the council had already decided to keep it 5:30 closed, 6 o'clock open for the time being. So, thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other speakers?
Mr. Mayor, that was the last speaker card.
Are there any comments from the dais? Councilmember Pittman.
Quick question, being how we have some planning commissioners here, the meeting plan here shows to be meeting at 7 p.m. Does that work for the planning commission? Okay.
Councilman Pittman, thank you for that question. That's a good question. That is a difficult time for staff, considering we're holding people over for up to 3 hours waiting for a meeting to begin. As we work through that, we'd like to work with the Planning Commission to find a time that is more conducive, especially considering that our staff for that particular meeting is paid at an hourly rate, and we are paying for a lot of downtime.
Okay.
Councilmember Draper.
I'd just like to interject here that the Planning Commission doesn't have nearly the length of meetings that we typically have had, nor the some of the issues that require a lot more public comment. And we've been here till midnight a couple of times in the last 3 years. And I don't even want to start a meeting at 7 p.m. I think that's not a good idea. Earlier, I think, is better, but if there's a way we can make it closer to when people who are working could get here, maybe if we had closed session at 4:30 and the meeting began at 5, and people wouldn't be too late to participate. I don't know, that's just my thought.
Are there any other comments from the dais? Vice Mayor Thompson.
5:30 would be better for me than 4:30 to 5. Right now, I think it's 5:30 and 6, right?
Okay, having no more comments, looking for a motion.
I move that we amend the meetings to starting closed session at 5 and open session at 5:30.
I'll second that.
Thank you very much.
It says that over there.
Motion carries.
Is that Elvis? Okay.
Okay, moving on to reports, discussion. So council announcements. Councilmember Draper.
Well, I would like to mention that a really beloved and outstanding member of the Oroville community passed away on December 30th. And that was Ace Gravison Construction. And the funeral was held on Saturday at the LDS Church on Monte Vista Avenue. And the whole chapel was filled, the overflow was filled, the cultural hall was filled. People were sitting on the stage. So several hundred people in this community showed up to show their respect for this man and their love for him. And it was a really spiritual and special service for him. His wife, Terry, taught at Las Plumas High School for, I think, 30 years. His daughter, Celeste, teaches English there now, and his daughter, Tara, is a speech therapist. And the whole family has had a huge impact on the Oroville community. And I just wanted to put that in the record that a really special member of our community has passed away.
Thank you. Are there any other comments? Councilmember Goodson?
I just want to say, one, Happy New Year, everyone. This is the first time that we've been together. I'm looking forward. I have to admit, there were a few bumps in the road last year. But I think that was just growing pains for each one of us. We're all unique. We come from different backgrounds, different perspectives. But I think this year we got it. I think we be gelling this year. I appreciate working with all of you and for you putting up with us. So thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other comments from the dais? Let's see, I was supposed to remember some stuff. What did we go to? We had the Christmas party.
Oh,
That was
yes.
a blast.
That
A lot of
was
fun.
great.
Get a little personal, I guess. My son came out and surprised me he told us that he didn't have leave, and he easily fooled me because I've never had him tell me anything that wasn't completely accurate as far as I know. And when I had my back to my office door and I heard a commotion come in, and I turned around and this guy in this uniform is standing there and a bunch of guys around him, his friends. I was blessed for sure. But unfortunately that night I came down with that flu that everyone has, and I had it the whole 2 weeks he was here. And he came and sat by my bed 2 or 3 times for hours just so we could talk and be together. And I just want to say thank you to him, to Grayson, for making that effort, and I'm going to forgive him for not telling me the truth this one time. It was a great surprise. So we got everybody on video who got surprised in the family, and it was a lot of fun. I've seen those things happen before, and now they've happened to us, and it's just amazing. So anyway, I would just like to, hats off to our military and thank them for everything. They're headed for some tough stuff here coming up. So keep them in your prayers, absolutely. So, having no more comments, future agenda items, anyone? Administration reports, Ruth?
I had.
I'm happy to let you all know we posted the annual audited financial statements to the website today. So
Right.
that's in, another checkbox. Now I have to compile it and send it to the state controller, and then I'm going to start our budget. So it's
Great.
happens all over again.
Councilmember Smith had a
Yeah,
comment?
I would like to see us put on the agenda a policy or crafting a policy around items, public items that could be safety issues, like a railing that's all bent up on the roundabout, signage that is damaged, items that are, clearly suffered damage and it could pose a potential public safety issue that are also aesthetically, and for me, it's an issue. I don't like looking at it every day. And I just feel that we need to have, as a council, to craft a policy to give staff, or parks or maintenance, some kind of, general idea of when that stuff needs to be addressed. I just think kind of leaving it open-ended month after month, that's just a problem for me. And I'd just like us to address that on some level.
I'll meet with you this week, Councilman Smith, and see if I can kind of see where we're going with this. I mean, try to put it more in a little box,
Okay,
so it makes a
fair
little
enough.
more sense.
All right.
For me, anyway, not that you're not making sense. I'm
Okay.
not understanding.
All right.
Apparently, we have more agenda items. So, Councilmember Goodson? Oh, okay. Councilmember Pittman?
Actually supporting Councilman Smith's concept. Basically, let's put it like this. We have broken guard railing. Let's see if we can get it repaired within 20 days. Or something like that. Because we have a lot. And recently, I think the Tip Mountain guardrail is the one that everybody's
Right.
seeing right now.
It's in a pile, and we have, quite honestly, we have no intention of fixing that because we have every intention of replacing that.
Okay.
With
Well-
a different barrier. So I think probably we need to communicate a little bit better about what we're doing. But what we can do is remove the mess of,
The damage stuff.
of what it,
Yeah,
the mess
okay,
that's there.
right.
So we can make it aesthetically be a little more pleasing and maybe temporarily put up a piece of K-rail or something until we
Yeah.
get to that point.
Thank you.
Councilmember Goodson?
Miss Bunker just reminded me, yeah, I bested you out. Annually, we have a Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Pancake Breakfast and Scholarship event. It's on, this year it falls on Monday, January the 20th, 2020. We have an excellent speaker, Dr. Clifford Thompson, who grew up in the community. The theme is Rise Together, and I think that is so appropriate for the fragile, if I can say it that way, political climate that we are in today. It's fun. We give away approximately 5 to 8 scholarships, $500 apiece to local high school students that are college-bound. We always have the presence of Congressman LaMotha there, other dignitaries, elected officials. It's just a fun time, singing and dancing from different organizations and churches in the community. The pancake breakfast starts at 8 o'clock. It ends at 10, and then the program begins. So everyone is welcome. I encourage you to attend, and it's just a lot of fun. Thank you, Ms. Bunker.
Okay, administration reports. Tom?
I'd just say again, to echo what Bill had said earlier, there's a tremendous amount of development interest in the community, maybe as much as there's ever been. And
Take advantage.
working in a consulting role, I would tell you that I think staff is really working hard and doing a good job on that as a third party.
Bill?
I'd like to report on my Christmas. It has nothing to do with work, but I want to report it. So if you'll indulge me. I had a very good Christmas. I had 5 of my grandchildren there. And it made me think of it when you're talking about your families. Of the 5 grandchildren that were there, to give you the visual of what it looks like is, if you've ever seen that fight that they have on TV where the cartoons are rolling around, there's dirt going everywhere, and you just see a hand and a thing. It's kind of like that. And when you have got to the point in your life where I am, and you're not used to having children in your home or any disruption, it's almost a little bit scary and intimidating because you're just not used to that no more. And what's interesting about my family is that one of the things is that one of my sons has 4 children and my daughter has a child. Well, the child that is an only child, it was funny to watch her to adapt to this because she has no clue what to make of these other 4 that are coming through that are just an absolute train, on their tracks. But anyway, I had a very good Christmas. Thank you for all that you've done for me, council, over the years, and making my family and my Christmases very good. I appreciate it, and I very much do look forward to working on a new slate this year. I think we can do it. I think that you guys have done an amazing job. You're a diverse group. You have a lot of strength, and I think we can draw upon that. So I very much look forward to working with you and the things that we're going to accomplish this year.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you. Scott?
I won't, likewise, I appreciate being here, and I just want to say Happy New Year.
Thank you.
Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year.
Wes?
Yes, Leo's apologized for not being able to be here tonight, but he wanted me to mention 3 items. First of all, we're anticipating a application for a 100-room hotel later this month in the vacant lot behind Starbucks and Panda Express. We're expecting an application soon for a new gas station mini mart truck fueling operation on the remaining vacant pad at the corner of Feather River and Oro Dam Boulevard. And lastly, next Tuesday evening, January 14th, staff is conducting a neighborhood meeting to discuss South Side, and council members Goodson and Mayor Reynolds will be there to open the meeting for us. And we're going to be seeking ideas about ways to perhaps adjust the zoning down there and other ways to encourage investment in that part of Oroville. So we're looking forward to that.
And when is that meeting?
That's next Tuesday, January 14th at 6 p.m. at the African American Family Cultural Center. And planning commissioners, I can't remember which 2 are going to be there. Yeah, as well.
Thank you.
Chief?
I got nothing from the department. I just want to thank the council for the opportunity they provided me as well, and I look forward to the New Year's also.
Thank you. Okay, with that, we're going to adjourn this meeting. Next meeting will be January 21st, 2020 at 5 p.m.